Well, we again asked the government for an interview on Gaza, but no one was available. So to talk about British government policy on the conflict, I'm joined by the Conservative MP Alistair Burt, who was Minister for the Middle East until a few months ago. Alistair Burt, the White House comes out tonight and says the attack on the UN school by Israel was totally unacceptable, totally indefensible. All I can find anywhere on anything from the Foreign Office is deeply concerned about the situation in Gaza. No condemnation of Israel whatever for that act.
I think the announcement by the United States is really quite extraordinary. And I think you're seeing there the first clear evidence of policy which indicates you can support the state of Israel and firmly defend the right of Israel to defend itself, but you can be sharply critical of the individual policies of any particular Israeli government. And for the Americans to have said what they've said is really genuinely remarkable. I think it illustrates the degree of concern there is in a wider area about Israeli policy.
Well, how come the British government is incapable of doing the same?
Well, I'm not speaking for the British government. What the British government has said very clearly...
As you're not, perhaps you'd like to tell them they should.
Well, what the British government has said, and they should say this, is there should be unconditional ceasefire, no conditions on either side, because the most important thing is to stop the fighting and then get the talking started again.
Well, that much Philip Hammond has said.
Correct.
He said he wants a ceasefire. But what nobody has said is I mean, until the White House said it, that what happened yesterday was totally indefensible. Why can we not find a British minister to condemn what has happened?
Well, I don't know, but I
do know. Do you not know? You know why.
I suspect.
Because there is no preparedness to criticize Israel for all sorts of different reasons. What is that lack of preparedness?
I think what you're seeing now is that growing sense of deep unease about what is happening in Gaza and the ability to separate, quite rightly, the Israelis need to protect themselves from an extraordinary series of attacks that Hamas have through the tunnels and all that and the rockets, but sharply distinguish that from the policy of trying to get at Hamas through women and children. This is just not working, and it's wrong. It's wrong. It's not proved effective in the past. It doesn't deter Hamas. It doesn't secure the peace of Israel or of Gaza.
Well,
something more needs to be done.
You have said something no government minister has said, that it is wrong. Now, Baroness Varsi is reported from some reliable sources knocking around inside the White House, inside the Foreign Office, to have very deep reservations and very deep concerns about government policy. Do you share those concerns?
No.
Why not?
Because what's most important in this circumstance, this is not about the British government. This is about what's happening out there.
We are British.
Yes, I know.
We have some influence in this region. We were the fathers and mothers of the Balfour Declaration, which set up Israel in the first place.
Then, if we have influence, we have to see how complex this is and what needs to be done. It's not just talking to Israel about what they should or shouldn't do. Israel will say, well, you're talking to us. No one talks to the Syrian government about what they do because there's no response. No one talks to Hamas, as you tried to do yesterday, because there's no response from them. The truth is, this won't be settled until Arab states are able to pull Hamas away from their attacks on Israel and their refusal to accept the existence of Israel.
But I put it to you that we...
No, if I could finish.
I recognise what you're saying.
And others get to Israel and say there is no answer to this unless they fully conclude the settlement with the Palestinian Authority, those who have been willing to work with Israel and don't fight it.
But Britain has considerable purchase on Israel. We have a big trading relationship.
Yes.
We supply arms, and we have a historic link with them, and we have a long record of not criticising them. The time surely has come for Britain to use its influence on Israel and indeed to use its influence in Qatar, where after all the head of Hamas sits and with whom again we have huge gas contracts and the rest of it. Why are we not using our leverage to get to either of these countries to get something happening?
I think from what I understand, the Foreign Office is using every bit of leverage it can with both the Israelis and the Qataris and the Turks to try and deal with Hamas.
Do you feel the heat from your own constituents? Do you feel the heat? There is huge anxiety in this country about the killing of women and children on a scale we've never seen before in this war.
No, we've never seen before in this war. You've seen it in Syria.
No, but let's stick to this war. This is one we're dealing with.
But the point I make is we're very selective about what we look at. What's happening in Gaza is as wrong as what's happening in Syria and in Iraq. But it won't stop unless you get the comprehensive settlement, and that requires dealing with both Israel and with the Qataris. And there are different ways of doing that. Being critical of Israeli policy now, I think, is important, because what they're doing is not effective and it's not working. Right. But only to do that with them and not to recognise what Hamas has done, the obduracy of Hamas, as you found last night, and what they've been doing would be wrong.
Thank you very much indeed, Alistair Burt. Jackie.
And to read the full letter from Margot James, go to Cathy Newman's blog on our website, channel4.com/news.